Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Chief.
It's good to be back. I want to thank Westborough TV. I know Jeff and I have had a long day. We had town meeting last night, so we seem a little off. I'm back tonight, so hopefully I get out before 11:30. But we have Kelley with us from Westborough Connects. She's going to be presenting today. Just wanted to give you a quick update on the PD. If I could have the illustrious Sergeant Greg Shipperett come forward. I have an amazing team, and I say it all the time. I play my small part, but these are the folks that get the job done for us. And I wanted to give you a quick update. A couple of things going on at the police department. One I'm really excited about is we're going to have our assessment for certification for accreditation in the first week in November. It's really important. It puts a professional stamp on our agency, best practices, policies and procedures, different things like that. So I want him, he's been working on this diligently with Lieutenant Daniels, who's our administrative lieutenant. And I wanted to have him give you a quick update on where we're at, and exciting that we did receive a grant to offset some of the costs moving forward. So with that being said, I'm going to have him give you a quick update, and then we'll introduce Westborough Connects. And it's great to be back again, and thank you all for attending today.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning. I'm Sergeant Greg Shipperett. So I've been with the PD for about 4 years. I think I've been in here one other time.
We can't hear.
Can't hear you? Is that better? Okay. Close. Okay, I got it. So, like the Chief said, accreditation. It's basically it's like you said, standards, policies, rules that we follow as police officers. It really gives us the stamp of being top-notch in the profession. It's a lot of stuff, a lot of paperwork, a lot of kind of boring stuff to talk about, but it really is important for our organization. One of the things I like to look at it as is that the idea of we're all human, we all make mistakes, and in order to avoid making mistakes, we need to come up with a system to get things done, right? So pilots do it, doctors do it. That's why when you go to the doctor, if you're having surgery on your right arm, they make sure they mark your right arm. That's why they ask you your date of birth 10,000 times while you're in there. And it's just what we do to be safe and avoid those little mistakes that we all can make from time to time. So that's kind of really when I look at accreditation, that's the way I see it. And it's to make sure that we limit those little mistakes and make sure that we're always on point when we're performing our duties as police officers, because like I said, we're all human and we're all susceptible to making those mistakes. So that's really why I'm so passionate about it, is because it does get us to that point where we know exactly what we need to do, we're always doing it, and we're following that protocol, because really so much in our jobs is we have to react at a moment's notice. We never know what's coming. So it's good to have those in our minds and have that backup plan of what we're going to do. So the great news, like the Chief said, Lieutenant Daniels worked real hard and got us a grant to cover a lot of the cost of the accreditation. It goes down to computers and programs that help us do our job better, and saves money in that area. Any questions on that? I know that's kind of a brief thing. I don't want to take up too much time. So we're moving forward. November 3rd, November 4th is our certification, and that'll make us the first agency in the state certified under the 6th edition, which is all compliant with post standards and all of the updated laws that the state's put out with police reform. So we'll be the first. A lot of people will be looking at us, coming to us. We already get a lot of questions about it, so it's a good position to be in. And hopefully early next year we'll go for the full accreditation, which is an additional amount of standards. It's like 200 more standards that we'll go through, which are basically almost done, luckily. So we're in good shape. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
And I think that's really important to note. I mean, Westborough is going to be the first police department in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts version 6. So we had all the bigwigs out during our mock assessment. We did well, and it's really exciting for us. So we're out there. Lieutenant Daniels, who couldn't be with us today, is actually in the town of Easton doing their mock assessment right now under version 5. So really exciting things going on. I want to remind everyone that basically on the 25th we have the downtown Halloween event going on, and we're going to have a haunted house at the police department in one of our garage bays. So if you're out and about and you want to visit us, we're kind of excited about that. Again, our community engagement team with Sergeant Shipwright supervises was doing an outstanding job making sure that we have events like this and we get out there and make sure we connect with you folks. And it's really great that, coming out of COVID, so to speak, that we're able to get together and be together during these definitely trying times the last couple of years. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Kelley to you. Westborough Connects is an absolutely phenomenal organization that the police department has partnered with on many different events. So hopefully she'll give you some insight into their programs, and I look forward to seeing you again next month at Breakfast with the Chief. Thank you very much.
Bye, Chief.
Thanks, Chief. Hi. How are you? Everybody get a good nap since town meeting? I had trouble falling asleep. Chief was saying the same thing. I mean, get home and you're all wound up. It was a heavy meeting last night. We got to continue tonight. But anyway, glad so many of you could make it. I'm sure you're here every month for this, right? So I'm happy to be here. My name is Kelley Petralia. I am the Executive Director of Westborough Connects. I'm a long-time resident of Westborough. I've been here in my current house for almost 20 years. I rented a couple of places on Church Street and High Street before that. And before that, I was way over on the other side of Harvey's in Hopkinton, where I spent the first 30 years of my life. So I'm here to talk about, not me, but Westborough Connects. I think many of you have heard of us, but I'm sure many of you have not as well. We are a grassroots nonprofit organization in Westborough. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our history, how we kind of do our work, what we do, why we do it, how, now, and what's kind of next. So, and then I'd love to hear your questions and comments. So we started back up before we even started, there's an organization in Natick called Spark Kindness, and they have been doing similar grassroots community work in Natick, and it started out of a bullying incident that happened. There was a cyberbullying incident in their schools, and it sort of paralyzed the community a little bit. The parents weren't feeling like they were supported by the schools sort of didn't know how to make that communication happen. And so a woman, Christine Guthrie, who is the founder of Spark, raised her hand and said, how can I help? And she just started convening some conversations among community members. And so what ensued was an anti-bullying coalition. And what they realized is they were sort of galvanizing around this idea of getting rid of bullying. Wouldn't that be a wonderful world if we could get rid of bullying? It happens at every age, actually, not just children. But then they quickly realized that it's more powerful to be for something than against something. We're not necessarily going to get rid of bullying, but maybe we can build some strength as a community and build some resilience so that when something happens that is negative and harmful, that we can move beyond and we can build strength from that and build resilience from that. So some people from Westborough were kind of watching what was happening in Natick and approached them and said, can you show us how to do something like that here in Westborough? And so Spark was thinking about kind of taking the show on the road. A couple of other communities had approached them, and they said, you know what, Westborough feels like a good fit. So they came over and they started kind of organizing some meetings where people could just talk. What are the strengths of Westborough? What do people love about Westborough? What are some of the challenges? As community members, what can we do about it? So we formally organized about 5.5 years ago, and as I said, we are now a 501c3, but we realized it wasn't because of a bullying incident, it wasn't because of a hate crime or anything, it was simply a group of citizens who wanted to get together and really harness the strength of our community. So we started having lots of conversations, getting to know organizations over the past 5.5 years, town groups, organizations. There's a lot of strength in this community. There are a lot of amazing people and amazing organizations doing great things. So we started getting to know them and getting to know people, talking to individuals. We do a lot. I do a lot of conversations at Red Barn and Panera and other places, just one-on-one, and just listening to what people love about Westborough and maybe what we could do together a little bit better. So we've done some of that work together in collaboration and with support from some of those great organizations that are around. We've done a lot of partnering with Alma and the Senior Center. Around COVID, we did a lot of things to help support sourcing sanitizer and face shields. We built face shields with the Rotary Club and the Women's Club and a lot of other groups out there. We helped get face masks in here, and we wrote notes, we still do, to the caregivers' meals and things like that. So really just serving where there's a need and where people power can help address that need. And then we do things that we hear that maybe we should do a little bit more of. So sometimes, most often, we do things in collaboration with others and in partnership with others. And then sometimes we're leading that partnership and we're leading that collaboration, but we always invite others to do that, to join us. So I feel like our job is also to promote the good work that goes on that we have nothing to do with. And so some of that, the ways that we do that is we have a newsletter. It's an email newsletter, and I do apologize if you don't have email. We don't yet have the resources to do a printed version of it, but that is on our strategic plan, which we just finished, is to have a printed similar to the senior scene. And so the idea of the newsletter is to share all that we know of, all of the events, the initiatives, and things that are going on in the community that are free and open to everybody. So things that are going on at the library, or the annual fishing challenge of the Civic Club, or whatever it might be. We also like to highlight what's going on in town government. So, for example, the town meeting, we always publish what is the warrant, when is it happening, what is a town meeting, for people that might have just not be familiar with the town meeting setting. We do a lot of trying to educate as well, if we feel like people need to know what is town meeting. You know, if you don't know about it, then you don't know why it's important to go. And so that's our newsletter, and we do that every month. We also do some bulletins that might be around events that we are hosting or that others are hosting that are community-wide that, you know, we feel like it's important to note. But for the most part, we try to keep our emails to once a month so we don't spam people. So that's our newsletter. And then we host events. We have several annual events. One just occurred. It was called Westborough for Life, Stay, Connect, Thrive. Did any of you go to that event? Yes, yeah. So the idea of that particular event, Westborough for Life, Stay, Connect, Thrive, is what connects us to the community in a new and different way, maybe when we're heading into a different stage in our lives, or when we are just new here and we don't know how to get involved. So it's all about living well. That event was about living well and having some fun. So, you know, maybe for people that kids that are graduating from high school and they don't now know how to be connected because they don't get the school newsletter anymore, or maybe you were here building your career over the first 25 years or your whole life here. But now you need to figure out a different way to connect. So that was the idea behind Westborough for Life, Stay, Connect, Thrive. And I know Alma was here, and the Council on Aging was here, kind of promoting what you do and what they do and the opportunities there. We have another event in our annual lineup coming up called Kindness Week. It's not about, yes, should we all be nice all the time? It's not about being nice. It's about really galvanizing as a community around a very simple value that we all share, and together kind of celebrating and honoring that. So it's not telling people how to be kind or that you should only be kind for a week. It's about, hey, this is Westborough and this is how we do things. We also have an annual Martin Luther King event that brings people together around Dr. King's legacy and the hope and the promise of his dream. All of these things, I should say, and I have said before, but I will say, are in collaboration with others. So we do that in collaboration with the Westborough Interfaith Clergy, Central Mass Connections and Faith, and the Westborough Public Schools. This will be our 5-year celebration in January. I have information about all these things too. And then we do a Westborough Unplugs in the spring, which is it's a national screen-free week actually, but we do a Westborough adaptation, and it's all about not telling people they shouldn't be on their phones, although we are on phones and our screens a little bit too much, but it's about what are the fun things to do here, and in general, spending our lives and investing in our relationships as humans, because that's what we're wired for. We're not wired to have our relationships through Facebook and our screens. we're wired to have our relationships in person at breakfasts and other things. So Unplugged is about celebrating that and sharing what are some of the things that go on in the community, the trail system that's available all the time for free, things like that you can do. We had a Booking It to Bay State event the past few years. We hope to do that again during Westborough Unplugs. And the idea was bring your book, bring dinner, bring a chair, and just read by yourself, but in community with a bunch of other people around you. And so I bring that particular event up because we really want to see intergenerational attendance at our events. This organization is not just about young families. We decided that very, very early on. It was actually the first vote we took before we were even like an official board or anything like that, was that we wanted to be an organization that's relevant from birth to death. So we want that whole lifespan of Westborough to be something that we have in mind when we're doing things. So what I'd love to hear, and I encourage, I have a phone, I have email, I'd love to hear how we could do that better for your age group, because some of the events that we think we're kind of sharing, like Kindness Week, we're not seeing the cross-generational attendance that we want to. And I grew up in Hopkinton, very small town, multi-generation was the way I grew up. I think our kids are missing that today, largely, and I think the older adults in our community are missing that. So I'll get to that one, but I want to talk about one more thing that we do, that's sort of what we do. So we do a newsletter, we do events, and then we share resources. So I have some resources that I brought, but we do things around, not just fun things like Kindness Week and like what brings us to Westborough Connects us, but we do some serious things too, like education around substance use and mental health. So we've done some programs and have some resource lists and things to share, because the idea is a connected, thriving community needs to do fun things together, and we need to kind of tackle some things that we all struggle with. So there's some information back there, and I'm also happy to answer any questions. So our mission is to build a thriving, kind, and connected community with others where everybody feels like they belong. So that's our mission. We call ourselves a community connector. That doesn't mean that we lead everything or that everything rolls up into us. No, our job is to connect people to the resources, to the great work that's already going on, and to opportunities to help bring new things to the community. The why we do this, we live in a fragmented world, and you have a very strong senior center, you have a really great community. There's a lot of organizations around the community that are great. They're member organizations, there's civic clubs, there's social clubs, the schools. We're all in our silos. That's just the reality of today. And the way and forms that we connect tend to be maybe Facebook, our annual 4th of July picnic, and different things that, where we see everybody. But those opportunities, especially with COVID, have been fewer and farther between. So the idea is that we need this in our world, and I brought a little prop here, but Vivek Murthy is the Surgeon General of the US. He was the Surgeon General under Obama and now is again under Biden. And when he first became the Surgeon General, he went around and talked to people about what ails our country and our world. And he identified an epidemic of loneliness and social isolation. And it's true. No matter if we have somebody at home with us all the time or not, we have a great family, whatever it is, we are all experiencing some degree of social isolation in our world today and loneliness. I experienced loneliness at the community level, and that's why I wanted to get involved. I come from Hopkinton, where I knew everybody, or they knew of me. I came here, I wanted to get to know everybody. It's not possible, but we can get to know a lot more about our community, and we can build some real good fabric that I think many of you have grown up with. And also bring us together in ways that we may not otherwise be around through some of our events. You may be around people at one of our events that you would never have an opportunity to be in the same room or the same place otherwise. And that gets to some of the issues that happen with social isolation. We become less willing to be open to new people, to be open to new ideas, to new thinking, to learning. We start to judge things that are going on or judge people. Well, if they believe this, then they must believe all of these other things. Brene Brown, who is a researcher in leadership and shame, she's amazing. I highly recommend her books to anybody. Her name's Brene Brown. She has a wonderful quote, and it's, "People are hard to hate close up." And it's harder and harder for us to be close up in this society. And so I think it starts at the grassroots, local level. And that's why we're doing this, and that's what we're trying to do. Again, we're not trying to do it alone. I mean, we are a group of citizens. We're a group of community members. So now, I talked a little bit about our events. I am happy to answer any questions that you have about them or give you any more information, but I have some of that information. And a little bit about what's next for us. Just what I was kind of talking about around that building of kind of that breaking down those social isolation and those walls of loneliness. We hope to continue to do, now that COVID is, well, it's not behind us, but we're able to be out in person again. It was really hard during COVID to build a community organization around connection when you're behind a Zoom screen, especially when you feel so strongly that I do that we cannot connect over Facebook. I mean, you look at the community pages that are on Facebook, and they're really detrimental and to our psyche. I see people commenting on things on Facebook, and I know them, and I know them going back and forth at each other, and I think if you just knew a little bit more about this person, you might approach that conversation a little bit differently. Not that we're all going to agree, because we're not, and that's what makes this world wonderful, okay? But we need to learn from each other and listen and approach things from an empathetic. I think many of us are parents. I have a 16, 14, and 11-year-old now. We want our kids to approach things with an empathetic and a curiosity and a desire to connect. So that essential human connection is what we're going after. So we think what we'd like to do is kind of convene some conversation around how do we change the nature of conversations. Maybe it's around Indigenous Peoples Day and Columbus Day. We're not going to avoid those conversations. Those are difficult conversations to have. And it's not our job, certainly, to tell where we should come down on one thing or another. But we could approach those conversations very differently. We could approach it with, we are neighbors and we care about Westborough. We really give a lot about Westborough. So how do we approach those conversations a little bit differently? So that's where we'd like to see things go as well, and continue to do our the things that our newsletter and our events, and promote the things that are going on. So I've done a lot of talking, sorry. But I'd love to hear any questions or comments, or if you feel more comfortable after, I'm happy to answer anything.
Do you have an office, or do you have? No.
I work out of my house.
Okay.
We all do.
Okay.
Red Barn is sort of our unofficial, I'm there all the time. And many people are. Sometimes I walk in and I'll see other members of our board or other people. But I meet people wherever, and so, Yeah, we're a pretty lean organization. And, we wouldn't spend our money on that. If anybody knows of any space that, anybody has an office that they have too much space, we would love an in-kind supporter in that way. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay,
Question,
at the
yeah.
public library, you could find a quiet corner.
Yes, we use the library all the time. We use the fire department, we use the library, we're about to use a law office, we use whatever space we can get.
I'm sure the chief might have a cell or two you could.
We leave the door open, or the key by the floor under the mat. Anybody else have any questions, or no? Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Very much.
Yeah. Oh, read this book, by the way. I really encourage. So this is by Vivek Murthy. Okay, it's at the library. They did get copies. Tatnuk has it for their discounted rate. You will feel at home being part of the senior center and knowing the value of community. It's called Together: The Healing Power of Human Connection in a Sometimes Lonely World. He lays it all out. It's very readable, and it's got great stories, and you'll be like, yeah, we do this at the senior center. Anyway, I highly recommend it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Kelley. So I'm very excited to have Kelley here today because really it's the glue that brings us together. It shows the commitment that these folks have to make Westborough the amazing community that it is. And like I said, your police department plays a small part. And there are so many players out there, like she said, bringing people together, whether it be the schools and different organizations. So very happy to have her here. Hopefully we'll have her back again someday to give an update. Again, on behalf of the police department, want to remind you, if you look at Sergeant Shipwright and I, our pink patches, breast cancer awareness, obviously supporting those in the fight and raising awareness as well and funding. So thank you for having us. I'm going to figure out who our next presenter is next month. Hopefully I'll see you all here again. And on behalf of the police department, I really do appreciate you having us here. Yes?
Chief, could you remind people about turning on their lights during the daytime when you have your windshield wipers in use? Also to turn the lights off once you park your car?
Yeah, so basically, it brings up a great point. It is a law, you know, when you have inclement weather, to have your headlights on when it is raining. So, yes, and obviously we don't want you to have dead batteries, so shut them off when you're done. But again, thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you in November, and we'll give you another update. Hopefully I'll be able to tell you that you know, we're on our way to certification and then accreditation, so we're very excited about that. A lot of amazing things happening over at the police department, and we're going to keep you in the loop on what's going on. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.